talking about PFEP, that was our last item before lunch, so we'll do that first. That way someone else gets to pick. And I will talk about PFEP, and specifically how we did that, the implementation at Racine. I also have on the line Nico, who's the logistics manager at the Racine plant in Wisconsin, the CNH Racine plant in Wisconsin. I will go through the first few slides, and then I'll have Nico come on, and then he can present the rest of the material. So just a few introduction slides on PFEP. I don't know if everyone here is familiar with PFEP. PFEP is basically a term for managing your parts data in the facility, plan for every part, as they call it. And a typical flow involves, receiving parts into a warehouse, putting them in some kind of an intermediate storage, from there moving them to supermarkets or line side. And so what we wanted to do with PFEP is, in Proplanner, is since we have the information about all your stations, about how the parts are being consumed at all your stations, configuration of the bill of material, all of that information is already inside the Proplanner database. We wanted to go upstream and see how we can figure out how the parts are being received, so that when we do create kits or when we do create unit-based part deliveries to the line, we have the complete knowledge of how the parts are coming in. So the main thing that drove us to PFEP at most of the plants, including the one here in Racine, was this information stored in multiple places. There are lots of spreadsheets, you had a lot of access databases, you had some folks managing one part of the line, not communicating with the other part of the line. You had to have different schedules coming in. All of that information was in multiple sources. Since Proplanner had all the knowledge, we just decided to bring all that in. And obviously the goals are, less parts, with kitting and Kanban, we want to hold as little as inventory as possible on the shop floor. We want the MBOM to drive what parts you have to pick. I think this is a big one there. Because we have the MBOM, that's the true configuration of every unit on the line. We are creating the part command for each unit through the MBOM of that unit, and then looking that up in PFEP to say, okay, these are the parts you need for this kit or this station. These are the parts you need for this kit and this station, right? So that information of the MBOM of Proplanner driving the kitting of each unit is huge, and that improves accuracy. Through our scanner apps, we are guiding the user, and we will show you a little bit of that, to where the parts are, so to make sure that they're picking the correct part, scanning the location, the correct part. And then we are tracking that whole process, right? How long is it taking for a part to come from A to B, B to C? What our picking cycles look like, so that we can improve that side of logistics as well. So eKitting, as I said, I'll go through this quick, is the process of creating station-based kits on the line, similar to how we create configured work instructions for the line, right? We look at the model option content of the unit, we look at what work has to be performed at that station, configure down the processes that have to be performed. Similarly, we're just giving you the list of parts that have to be delivered, now grouped in kits rather than operator work instructions. The concept is the same. But since we have the schedule, we have sequence planner, which is huge here because that tells us when the unit will be delivered to the line or when the unit is expected to the line. We can use that calculation to alert everyone that when you need to start picking, when you need to move it to the line, and when it has to be delivered to the station, right? So all of that information is available through the Proplanner scheduling and sequence planner. This is the Android app. You can see we've added a few features. Like I said, you have to scan the location where you're picking the parts from. We're showing you a visual, like an image of the part that you're supposed to pick. So, reduce the error. We can handle multiple units. So certain carts are for multiple units for the day. Some carts are per unit. So we can show you the exact configuration or the number of parts you need to pick and how it's distributed to the unit. We do have something called position, which is where on the cart you're supposed to place the part. This is big in improving the operator side of things, where they know where to pick the part from. And the most important thing is it's an Android app, so I can run this at the plant. I can run it a mile away or 5 miles away from the plant, as long as folks can, have a valid connection. Kanban, this is the pool-based system. So this is more like someone on the line who's seeing there's a shortage of parts can scan so that particular container, generates a ticket, generates a demand, and it goes through the cycle of replenishment. I think everyone is here is familiar with Kanban. We're tracking that eKanban through Proplanner. We know the parts that ought to be at a station, so you can generate the demand from those particular stations. And same thing, the Android app that I was talking about has an eKanban option, so we can run both eKanban and eKitting on the same app. All right, and we touched upon this with Kelly. So we've been in CNH for several years now. These are the main features that we are focused on in CNH. I think we discussed this in the morning. So I'm going to move on to Nico now, and Nico, I'll skip this as well. So Nico, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Mondo. So hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Nico Hardcastle. I'm the internal logistics manager for the Racine plant. And also I am in charge of the entire plant value stream. So really, it comes down to cradle to grave part delivery, anything value added with parts to the point of use, warehousing, and then out the door and finished goods. I've been with CNH for about 12 years through various supervisory logistics roles, continuous improvement roles, but been in my current position now for 5 years.
Sorry.
All right, next slide, Mondo. So the big problem that we were facing here at the plant, and just to kind of give you an overview of what the Racine plant builds, for those of you that don't know, we're the one of the flagship plants for CNH. We build the Magnum tractor, which is the large frame tractor that we sell to the market. And we build both the drive line and the tractor in-house, as well as the cab and any other sub-assembly components. In total, it's about 12,000 different part numbers that we manage. And really, the problem that we were having was the variation in all of these parts and all of these large components. We must have a lean flow with kitting to get the right parts at the right time. And to do that, kitting needed to be the number one model flow, if you will. So we do a lot of kits. And the biggest challenge with that was keeping up with the BOM changes for the kits. So anytime that we had to refresh the BOM work for it, or if there was a part change or some sort of model change, there was a lot of work that had to be done outside of Proplanner to get us what we just needed. So there was always a challenge with that. Whenever the line rebalanced, right, we had to move kits around, we had to move material around in our data-wise in our access database when we used to do PFEP that way, which was very time-consuming and left a lot of errors open, which, right, if you're managing that level of part numbers and that many changes, that will happen. Like Mondo told you earlier, our PFEP was being tracked through an access database, and it wasn't connected to MRP, which was a huge issue. And then lastly, the lack of visibility into our kitting process. It was really a manual way of how to do kits. I do over 560 different kits a day. I have over 1,000 different kits that I do in the plant. So as you could tell, it got a lot of noise and mess when things went wrong. So we needed a way to monitor it and understood if we had part shortages or unit skips when I was sequencing parts to the line. So we already use Proplanner from a BOM standpoint and a looking at how we were making our M-BOM, but using the accuracy of the M-BOM and the unit BOM is what made it key. So when we understood what parts needed to go directly to the line at that point of use, we really just bounced it off the unit BOM, which was coming down the line in Proplanner Scheduler. So once we balanced the line and we integrated it in with our MRP orders, it was really easy for us to understand the sequencing events that needed to happen to the kits could happen directly through Proplanner Scheduler, take the M-BOM straight from our MRP system, and we knew exactly what went to each unit based on what we had on our PFEP. So really it was connecting all the dots that we didn't have before. And then lastly, the way to integrate that into a user-friendly interface was through the Android app that we created in-house. There was already something that Proplanner had built upon, but the nice thing was that we worked with them to make it user-friendly for CNH to our needs on the line. So we created a step plan because we couldn't go to the end solution right away. And I think this is what helped us out a ton with Proplanner and the teams that helped develop the project with us. So we knew we wanted to get to a paper-based picking. The goal was to utilize the eKanban, the knowledge that we had to create the pick sheets, get it standardized, then move to the scanner with the accuracy in the picking. And then we were then going to create a expansion across the entire plant. And then as well, I have a 3PL. So a lot of my kitting functions happen at 3PL. So it needed to be pushed over there to all of the kits that they do to deliver to me throughout the day. So overall, the improvements that we saw just by integrating all of the items that I just went through, the accuracy in picking. So we used to measure accuracy in picking based on an auditor just understanding if he looked at different carts and it was very tribal knowledge based, and he would have a tally sheet and say, yep, this was built wrong. Well, now I have something that tells me if I built something wrong. I have visual cues. I have something that tells me, it really pops up into my face that said, look, you've scanned this wrong part. This is incorrect. It gives me something to track and make improvements on. Inventory reduction on the line. Anytime that you create a system where you have a automatic pull and an automatic bomb generated, you can really thin up the lead time in your own value stream map by delivering the right point of use part at the right time. Visibility to our logistics team was huge. Giving everyone the ability to understand what units are coming up the line, maybe a half a day away, and understanding if I have shortages, got me to deal with any landmines that would have hit me on the line and prior processes. Now I can deal with a day earlier and work with the supplier to get something expedited in. The bomb changes were made very easily. Everything flowed together through PFEP. And then anytime we had a schedule change, working with we have a master scheduler that works here in our plant that really controls Proplanner scheduler. So if I need to make a change, it can happen instantaneously right then and there. So we know where we were, we know where we are, and we also have next steps to make it even better here at the plant. We do want to have better integration with MRP to compute part shortages. So not only am I seeing them, but can we feed them further upstream to our MRP systems? And we have the ability to do that with Proplanner so we can have better visibility. Allow mapping of alternate parts to PFEP. This is something that we look at in terms of if I need to make a change to the eKanban, I can do it right then and there. And then I can also work on consumption of that. Alerting shop floor operators on shortages and skips on the shop floor viewer is key. Right now, we do have a process for that. But for instance, if I have parts I deliver to the line and I have shortages, I have a supervisor that has to go to them and say, look, in about 10 units worth or 10 tractors worth, you're going to be missing this bezel to go in the cab. And we are going to be working on that to mitigate downtime. Well, we're trying to feed that even further upstream to get it to a material planner so that it doesn't even hit the shop floor. Preview complete set parts per kit on the scanner. That's something I can do right now, which was part of our next steps in the last phase of the project. Allow updating of part locations with the scanner. That's something we're looking at. Allow outside suppliers to utilize the PFEP data for kitting. We always know that we want to be able to get to that end goal of having suppliers sequence information for us. And I think it's key. We're not quite there yet at the Racine plant, but we do have the ability to do it through the Proplanner app. Manage schedule carts, non-unit based. So not only do I have sequential carts, but we are also looking at implementing building and kitting of parts that are just basic consumption parts, right? The tractor takes 5 of these, 5 of these, and 5 of these. It also helps me standardize my picking logic. And then manage reverse order picking. So I don't know if any of you have seen a case tractor, but I have large fenders that go on them. Some of them are wide fenders, short fenders. Some of them are blue fenders because we also build the New Holland brand at the plant. Well, the way to pick them up is with a big hoist. So Proplanner worked with us to reverse the sequencing logic because I had to build the cart backwards just because of how big the parts were. So these are all things that we've been able to work with Proplanner and the CNH logistics and IT teams to come up with unique solutions for the modern problems that we have.
I think the rest of it is just going through the screens and dashboard and everything that we've added in the PFEP system, and I can do that. Nico, I know you had a time limit, so are there any questions specifically for Nico?